All right, so we are live. Happy Wednesday. We have a couple second lag time on here, so let some people join in and we will go from there. Sam, appreciate you coming on here today.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me.
Pretty cool. This is maybe a bit self-serving on it, right? This is the kind of stuff that I'm interested in. Sam and I have been talking about this of, hey, I saw this and I was like, "Ooh, I love this stuff." But obviously I'm a numbers guy and this is something that kind of gets me going on here. But I'll give a quick intro here in a second, let a couple more people join on of who Sam is, what he's created. Like I was telling Sam, I'm going to butcher his intro, so I'll let him do kind of the heavy lifting here. But yeah, just want to say I do appreciate you taking your time out of your day to come out and present this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely appreciate it. And, I think I'm a numbers guy as well. So, this stuff really gets me excited. And, like I said on our phone call, it's great to find somebody else that can appreciate it like you do.
Yeah,
And I really think it's super valuable to shop owners. I think it's something that's often overlooked, mainly because, they can't understand what they're actually looking at.
exactly right. And we talk about that with financials all the time of, hey, I could give you the prettiest financials in the world with the most information on it. If you don't understand what you're looking at, you don't know how to apply that or what it means and how to do it. So, yeah, why don't I kind of do a little bit of introduction here on, how I found out about your product and a little bit of background and then let you take over. So,
Yeah.
Sam Johnson here, as you can see on there. So, Sam owns an auto repair shop down in South Carolina on it, Beachside Tire and Auto Repair. But I did not hear about him because of his repair shop. Sam has created a software called Changepoint Automotive Data Solutions, which is a back-end reporting software, CRM, that hooks into your shop management software. Working on expanding the integrations with other shop management softwares. When I first kind of found out about Sam, I had a client that was using it. And like we were just saying, he was like, Hunt, you got to check this out. I know that you're going to like this. And more or less, it is making customizable reports, dashboards about key metric areas, trends, customer drop offs, and also does some really cool stuff, with integrations with your phone system for service advisors on the counter, real time with day to day customers. The biggest thing that, I get for a lot of my clients is, hey, there is so much information in tech metric, right? There is so much information in shopware, and both of those have very good reporting on it, but it's not unlimited customization. And what Sam has created here, and I'll let him explain, is he created something that he wanted to analyze, right? Was sick of building these spreadsheets and spending more time fixing and making spreadsheets than actually analyzing this stuff. And so said, you know what? If I'm making these spreadsheets, I'm sure other people are making these as well. So let's bring this into the 21st century and give something that really hasn't been done before. And yeah, so Sam, let you kind of do a little bit of background, clarify anything that I screwed up there. But yeah, go
Yeah,
for it.
I mean that's basically it. So, when the COVID growth was happening, we were doing before that about 1.5 million a year, and I realized that it was super important to really keep looking at all the KPIs. But it's fine to do it on a spreadsheet level when you're only working on 80, 100 cars, 150 cars a month. But when you start getting over that, the time need for that grows immensely. So at our shop, we do about 600 cars a month average. We're in the 550 to 625 range. So when you start pumping that volume through the shop, you start doing 20 hours a week of reporting.
Yeah.
And then you do that for several months, and then you don't want to do it anymore because you're strapped to a computer for so long during the week. So I had a friend that reached out to me and that works in software they sell software to municipalities. It was like, hey, you should, look into doing something like this for your shop, because I was complaining to him about it. And then I found a way to build this out for my shop. And then I was like, holy moly, like that is really was the first step for me to be able to kind of step away from my shop. There's other things that were put in play, but now I had a clear way of really seeing what was going on without actually being there.
Yeah,
And
that's awesome. And like you said, a lot of people are in that similar situation. I mean, how many people went to cloud-based so that they could analyze their business from somewhere else? But just like you said before, if you're doing 50 cars a month, you can probably guess what these metrics, you can see it, you can feel it, right? You're starting to do that kind of volume on it. Yeah, the big things you're going to notice, but the smaller details, the smaller trends, you can't sense that without some sort of, reporting or, technological help in the background.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the other thing I learned was when you don't do the reporting, it hurts you. But when you have quick access to it, you're able to make a decision pretty quick. You're not spending a week doing the reporting to say, okay, now I have it. I see the problem, but you're able to get to the decision a lot faster.
Exactly right. Awesome. So what we're going to do here, just a kind of quick overview that I'm going to let Sam run off is I want Sam to just kind of demo this. He's going to kind of give you a little bit more background information on, what this platform can do. And then also a couple of key use areas that are very common. And like I said, I already have a handful of clients that are using this and loving it. So the whole idea was to get this out there to show it to you guys. And I know that there's going to be some of you that look at this and are like, I know exactly what this is. I need this. But then also to educate some of you guys that are like, I'm not sure why I need this. What is a case where a shop would really benefit from this? So I'm going to let Sam do his thing here. And then you guys have any questions, requests, and stuff like that, should have some time to pop in there and kind of answer those as well too. So Sam, I will let you take it away and I will get this shared on there for you.
All right. I appreciate it. Okay, guys. So I definitely appreciate you joining me today. We kind of touched on what the software is. So really, we have two main features here for the software. And the first one's going to be Shop Trends Pro, and that's going to be our reporting software. And then we also have a service advisor assistant piece, and that is going to be more of a daily use thing. So we really do have two core products. I have some shops that love one and don't use the other, and vice versa. So it's really what's best for your shop. So as you know that, most shop owners and managers, they do get stuck working in the business. But, we really realize that the most successful shop owners, they get to the point where they're able to work on the business. And I'm sure that you have that discussion with Hunt as a client all the time. How are you going to achieve that? So, you kind of break it down, and my experience as a shop owner is kind of ran the gamut of service advisor, running the shop, to kind of where I am today. So if you are the technician or the advisor and you're still working on the shop, then, in the shop working on cars or helping customers, you can benefit from this because this is going to be kind of your first stepping stone to getting to the next level, which is going to be working on your shop. And then once you are working on your shop and you realize, what's going on, the next step is replacing yourself. And that could put you to being a multi-shop owner, or my favorite shop owner that there is, and that's the one living on the beach, sitting on the beach with an umbrella drink. So no matter where you are in your shop owner journey here, this really can play into, benefiting for your shop. So one thing that I want you to think about is as your shop owner, what are the issues that you run into on a daily basis, as far as, identifying issues? Have you ever been in a situation that, the business is declining at your shop and you really don't understand why it's happening, or it takes you forever to identify it? But then once you've identified it, really knowing what to do to make those numbers change, in your favor. So knowing the numbers at your shop, the biggest thing that I find at my shop is we don't really have as many surprises as we used to. My team has full access to this, and we're able to discuss this in meetings. We use this as big talking points, and that could be, with your technicians or your advisors, or if you do full shop meetings or whatever that is. Really it helps you navigate the landscape of shop ownership with skill. You're not flying by the seat of your pants. As a shop owner, we all have great goals and we want to be able to achieve those goals. And this really lets us set the goal to an achievable level, and then we're able to achieve it and monitor that goal. And, as Hunt said before, how do I know this? Because I am a shop owner. So my shop, we're currently on pace to do $4 million this year. Like I said, I started building this out. We were doing about $1.5 million a year. My family has been in this business for 30 years. Personally, I've been doing this for 20. And, so I have, like I said, I've been in basically all facets of shop ownership, and I've seen it through my whole life. So this is really built on my experience, and now that I've got other people involved, we're incorporating their experiences into how we can make the product better as well. So, like I said, I developed a software out initially for my shop, and really what we were seeing is the metrics that the shop management system provide, they're either not there, or they take a lot of time to really dig deep and find out exactly what's going on. And then once I had a grasp on it, I feel that I'm a data nerd to an extent. I've loved Excel for the last 25 years. I really love using the software, but then I realized my managers and my staff, they have no interest in it, or they don't understand it. So, really what we've been able to do is we have a clear path for all of our employees so they can really look at it and say, okay, this is the problem. And now it empowers them to start making those decisions. So we follow a pretty standard problem-solving method at our shop, and this is kind of standard if you do EOS or anything like that, where you really need to identify the problem. And then now you're able to use the software and bring that to your team, and you can brainstorm what the problem, what the solutions are going to be. And when you select that solution and implement it, the next step is monitoring, and that's where it can get sort of tricky and start getting really into these time-consuming tasks. So we'll kind of run over Shop Trends Pro, which is the reporting software, and we'll run through some kind of case uses here. I want you to understand that I understand that this is a lot of information I'm going to be throwing at you, and we do have knowledge bases and best use articles and stuff like that at your disposal. So don't think, whoa, I'm getting hit with all this information. We do have that available to your access. So just keep that in mind as we go over this stuff. So this is what I like to call the command center dashboard. And this is the dashboard that you're going to be using the most. And, you can check this on a daily basis, but it's usually best to check this weekly or monthly. It's really how often is going to work for you. It is not intended to check every hour of the day, though. I've had shop owners that are, they close a ticket and then they look at the dashboard. It's not meant to be like that. You're not going to make a decision based off of what happened by lunchtime that's going to change your shop by the end of the day. It's just not going to happen. So up here at the top, we kind of have the general shop overview, and these are your more traditional reporting metrics for the shop. If you're not familiar with the term KPI, the key performance indicator, that's really what we're measuring here, are all the metrics for your shop. So this is kind of the overview. The one thing that's unique to us, you can see on the right-hand side is, we do have oil change upsells, and I'll touch on that a little bit more down the road. Here in the center of the dashboard, we have the approved versus completed hours, which I personally feel is one of the most important metrics when you're starting a diagnostic process for your operations at your shop. We're also able to set goals up for the shop. So you can see there in the center that, we're a little bit off target when I took these screenshots. But like I said, we don't look at everything on a daily level. We really want to look at it on a monthly level. And then the other thing that we can see is what are we doing as far as our customer retention? You can see that we have, our lost customers are outpacing our new customers there. So we have access to all that really quick, and we can see what's going on. Down here on the bottom right, we can see what's going on with the technicians. We can see the hours that they're quoting, and then we can see the hours that they're producing, as well as we could see that with the advisors. We could see their close ratio. And then another thing is that I feel that's important is the oil change upsells. So just a little bit of note on why we use hours. And so what I noticed from the dashboard is the last couple of years, we've had this inflationary growth. And last year, from 2021 to 2022, of the shops that I had on the software, the average was about a 15 to 17% gross sales increase, but the hours produced was not increasing. So, or it would be like 1 to 2%. So when you're analyzing data with your shop, the first thing that you want to do is you need to find the most consistent denominator for everything that's out there. So when we're looking at the shop data to be able to compare, if you had, parts prices went up and you probably raised your labor rate 1, 2, I think on our shop, we raised it 3 times. how can you really compare that to a previous year or 2 years before when all those things have changed? So one thing that is consistent among shops is labor hours. So that is why we use that metric. The last part is the vehicle life cycle. So this is from the time you make the ticket to the cash hits your bank account. And that's really important to me. You know, when we're sitting there and we're growing our shop, if that lag time continues to go out, cash flow can be, become sparse. And we all know that cash flow is the killer of the business. It's not whether it's profitable or not. So this tells us how long that is actually taking. One thing that can throw this off in this case is we've had some issues with back ordered parts where it might take 6-9 months to get those parts in. And, now that we're getting to the end of that this number is a little bit more accurate. But that's why that can be sometimes on the higher side. So we're going to dive into approved versus completed hours. And, really, this is super important because this tells you where to start your diagnostic process. So if your advisors are approving 1 million hours and your technicians can't produce that, then you know that your problem is in the technician area. Now, if your technicians are completing more hours than your advisors can sell, then we know we have a sales problem. One issue that I really, that we've all been guilty of is we always want to blame, the technician's slow, they can't do what they need to do. But then in the end, we really find out that our advisors aren't doing what they're supposed to, or it's, the advisors are doing everything that they can, but then we have a technician issue. And maybe it's just one technician. So with all of this information that we have, we're able to really dive in and focus on one employee if we need to really bring that person up, and then we're not fixing shop issues, we're fixing employee issues. So you can see here, I've blown up the service advisor performance stuff here, and you can see here that we're able to see what's going on with Brian. And if you look over here in his close ratio, he is a little bit lower than the other advisors. So, really this is going to start with a meeting, find out what is going on. And then we're probably going to do a decline ticket audit, and we're going to really see what is Brian losing on compared to the other advisors. We can see down here in the oil change upsells that he is a little bit behind the other two. 100%, is not uncommon to see. I have some guys some months that are 120, 130%. And I'll explain a little bit on how that's, we compile that stuff. So we have this maintenance dashboard, and this is really the biggest impact other than the reporting that is going to make you the money. And so we're able to do job tracking per oil changes. And so that is super important as you grow your shop, because the number one thing that you're advertising, especially if you're a mailer shop or any of that stuff, is what are we doing on an oil change? Are we advertising and spending $5,000 on mailers, and then are my advisors just processing that as a $35 oil change? With the filters that we have in here, we're able to look at how they produce by the advisor. We can look at if they're a weight customer or a drop customer. So if that oil change is a weight, what do you do? If it's a drop oil change, how does that work out? The other thing is we can do it by visit as well. So if you want to look at your first time visitors or your second, third, or fourth, and you can kind of see what is going on as that customer experience progresses. Once that customer's been to your shop 4 times, we feel that you have a pretty good solid relationship with that person, and it's going to take a lot to disrupt that. And you can see over here on the left and the right. So these are the jobs that come and make this number here for the percentage. So the way that this works is it's not we're upselling 72% of the time. Is if you do one oil change and you upsell one item, you have a 100% close ratio. So, really what we're looking at here is what is happening during the oil changes. And these are all maintenance items. We're not worried about repairs and all that stuff. This is the stuff that brings consistency to your shop. You cannot control the amount of repair work that comes in your shop at all ever. It doesn't matter how much advertising you do or whatnot. The one thing that's going to be consistent month to month, day to day, is how many oil changes are you able to get in the shop and capitalize on that and establish that customer relationship. So down here, we are able to reference some other things that don't come into the equation. And at our shop, we like to look at tire sales, brake sales. If you look on the left, and that's for all of these, that's how many times we're presenting that service. And then the number on the right is how many times we're actually closing that service. So what I found is when we change our different presentation strategies at the shop, the close ratio can change here and there per one particular item. So when you get into really fine tuning your shop, these are the things that you want to be able to look for, because when at my particular shop, we kind of reach capacity for the building. We can't work on more than 600, 625 cars a month. So the only way we can grow the business at that point is increase ARO. So all of these things are going to play into that. So once you get to a certain point, you're going to have to explore these things if you continue to plan to grow your business. So you can see here, this is the graph that's blown up a little bit. And so what we did at our shop is we really, before we had the dashboard, we were kind of in that 25% range, and which is not bad, but it's not where we are today. So then, I built the dashboard out and we kind of ran in that 40 to 60% range, which was great. I thought we were doing awesome. And then we started looking for the next thing. And we realized that the way we were presenting the work at our shop, it was maybe not the best thing. We realized that, customer would come in for an oil change, we would find some repairs on it, and then we would tack on the maintenance. And that $35 oil change is now a $3,000 repair ticket, and we were losing that sale completely. So that gave us the information of looking at this on, where are we missing the mark? Now the way we reference it at our shop is we're not looking for home runs, we're looking for base hits. So we changed our presentation strategy. We go for the small base hits here, and you can see that we've jumped since the beginning of the year up into the 70 to 85% range. And I do have advisors that are in the above 100% when you start looking at this on the advisor level. So, now we are strategizing what's going to be our next change. Can we get the entire shop to 100%? That's really our next goal, over the next 3 to 6 months. So on the technician side of things, if the approved versus completed hours, we really don't see what we like there. We can see Justin here. They're all recommending about the same time, but Justin's average daily hours is 6.6. So that's low compared to Dale and Mike, which are 9 and 11. So, now we're able to, kind of work with Justin a little bit more on an individual basis because, 9 hours average and 11 hours average, I think most shop owners would take that from any technician. So we do have more granular technician reporting. And, over here on the top side on the left here, this is kind of an overview of what's going on there. And then we have our granular individual technician reporting down here. And then on the top right, we have what we call the performance quadrant. And the goal of this is to be as far above this horizontal line, but as close to this center vertical line. And so this is how many hours they're producing per RO. And then this is the left to the right of this line is how long they're taking to work on this car. So really, like I said, you want to have all your guys in a cluster, and you don't want them so spread out here. So when we focus in on the technicians a little bit, you can see here, again, we're going to talk about Justin. So we can look at his quoted hours, and we can look at him in reference to Dale and Mike, and we can kind of see that, they are kind of close, and Justin is still not the performer, so as the shop owner, now we're able to sit down with Justin and we can go over some of the tickets that he's getting. And this could be anything from Justin's personal processes to how he's intaking a car and doing his diagnosis or whatever the case is, or as simple as what kind of ticket is he given? Is he getting given stuff that's out of his, pay grade, and he's just failing on those tickets? So that really lets us dial in, and we can compare him directly to Dale and Mike, and we can say, what is making Mike so successful at 11 hours a day It really, I have a couple of people on here. I have one shop in particular that has his technicians are in that 13-hour a day range, which is incredible. So it really shows you that if you sit down with your technicians and you come up with a plan for them, what you could really do, on the individual level. So that's kind of on the reporting that you're going to use more often. And we do have a couple other reporting features here, and that's going to be in the customer retention. And, it's my belief that, customer retention reports, when you get them from your CRM software and all that, it's great. But, really what we're looking at when I look at my return customers is when we make a change at my business, what is it doing to my customers that matter? And that's the return customers and my best customers. So you can see here that, we're able to make a change. Back in December, we made a labor rate change, and you can see kind of so far and through the beginning of 2023, zero effect. We haven't had any complaints. We're not getting any pushback, so it kind of lowers that fear of, the shop owner. Well, if I go up $5, we've all had that fear. So, exactly what I'm talking about. And then we have the best customers. And, this business, like every other business, follows that 80-20 rule, that 80% of your business comes from 20% of your customers. And this is that 20% of your customers. So this tells me that, when we look back in November, where we were in the mid 20s, and now in May, we're more in that 30% range, those return customers are now converting into a best customer. And what we're considering a best customer at my shop is 6 visits with an ARO over 350. And I know that sounds a little bit low, but, we kind of ran the numbers and we realized, we identified who we thought our best customers were. And that's how we came up with that. When you have a customer that's coming in and they're coming to your shop 3-4 times a year, not every visit is going to be that $1,000 ticket. They're going to get out of there with $35 oil changes if you're doing your job correctly. So, this whole myth that, every ticket's going to be $1,000, that's just not how it comes out to be, especially when you have that relationship with the customer. The other part that we have is vehicle reporting. And this here breaks down by vehicle, and we can do by year, make, model, with all the filters that we have. Right now, this is sorted by what our most profitable vehicle is. And unfortunately, we don't want to work on Saturns anymore. I'm sure you don't want to either. But, this shows that we've had, in the last 12 months, we've worked on 22 of them, and it is continually our highest margin vehicle. I've ran this for different date ranges. This is the craziest thing, that this is not just now. This is previous time frames as well. So, but with that said, you can look at all that stuff here and you can break that down there. The other thing that we can see here is we can see by the total ROs that Ford is my most popular vehicle. So, we're using this to make marketing decisions. I know in a specialty shop, they really like to do the BMW marketing and stuff, but I got to thinking about that, and why are we not, as a general repair shop, not doing that? If we know that we have a particular vehicle that we either have specialty tools for, or is super popular, or we have technicians that really get those cars in and out quick, why do we not market to those people? We have that access to ours as well. Now we're not doing that EDDM marketing where we're getting every human in the door. We're able to kind of pinpoint that customer. And as you grow and you start to reach the limits of the capacity of your shop, that is super important, because you don't want one of these things where one out of every 5 oil changes is what you want. You want to make that where every oil change that you've advertised is what you want. And I feel that that's going to be the next step for, really a lot of general service shops. It's not just a specialty Euro or diesel thing anymore. So down here, we're able to look at the most profitable makes for our shops. But the other thing that we can look at is what are the most profitable makes for other shops. And, I feel this is important because if you see something coming on the horizon with this, you can see that, someone's working on, Tesla or whatever the case is, and that's starting to pop up in that. now you can kind of expect to see that at your shop somewhere in the near future. And that might be, making a tool purchase or training or whatever that is. This just kind of gives you the foresight on what that is. Like I said, we also have that for the least profitable. At our shop, we realized, being general service, about a year ago, we made the decision to get away from European vehicles, and it was the best decision that we made. We made that decision based solely on this. We saw that our least profitable vehicles were European cars. We weren't tooled for them. So we basically just took those out of the mix. So, like I said, you're able to make informed business decisions. So here's the vehicle performance, and this is going to be by model, and we can look at that by year as well. So, when we look here, we can see the Jeep Wrangler, and we can see that that is a fairly profitable vehicle for my shop. We work on them often enough. So now I'm going to do that marketing campaign. But, am I going to market to, somebody 2022? No, we want to give them specific years. So if we see that we're working on a specific year range, and in that we might be running into a particular job that is making that vehicle the profitable one, that's who we really want to target to. The other thing is on the tool buying side. When you come in here, and the hot topic right now is all the ADAS calibration. We had a guy call our shop yesterday, as a matter of fact. 2022 Hyundai needed ADAS calibration. They broke the camera. Am I going to go out and spend 35 grand on that equipment because I'm working on one 2022 a year? No. My tool buying decisions are going to be on what years we're working on and the models and the makes. So this is telling us that information. I think that a lot of this stuff, it's great to know that that's coming down the pipeline. But as a smart business owner and a smart shop owner, you have to make the purchase so you get the best return on investment. All these guys that make these investments in these tools, it may be a little bit early at times, unless you have a particular relationship with like a body shop or something like that. So as I said before, I understand this is a lot of information. I'm a numbers guy, and it's a lot of information for me. So I have worked tirelessly to really get a knowledge base up there, and this is going to explain to you how to use the dashboard. It's also going to give you some strategy on these numbers. So, we get questions all the time. How do I use this? How do I use that? I want to be able to just give you some videos when you have some time. Hey, I think I need to increase my technician efficiency. What are some ways I can do that? Or, how to use the dashboard better, and also the thought process around how this was designed, because you have to use the software how it was designed. If you try to push it to the edges of things, sometimes we might need to build out a custom option for that, which is definitely possible as well. So that kind of wraps it up for the reporting side of things. I'm going to briefly touch on the Service Advisor Assistant. As I said before, this is more of I don't want to call it a CRM software because we don't do any kind of customer communications or anything like that. But this is really so your advisors can make an intelligent decision about who is on the phone. So we have our own kind of customer portal here. And, when you search that customer's information, you can do that by, name or phone number. It brings up who that customer is. And some of the important things that is we have a customer rating, and this is all done in the back end, about by visit type and ARO. And we know exactly who is on the phone, no matter who is answering the phone. And, we always have that. We had a guy yesterday that called our shop that we don't want coming into our shop anymore. And the new CSR answered the phone, and she knew immediately we do not want that person in. That is super important as you start to build your customer base out, and try to maximize who is calling your shop. Consequently, when we develop this piece, this particular customer that's on the screen right now, he is my best customer. And he called for an oil change when we were in rapid growth mode. And my CSR did not book him an appointment. We didn't find out till 3 months later when we came in for the oil change next that he had an oil filter on there from a competitor. Thankfully, that relationship was strong enough where he came back, but this increases the nonverbal communication in the shop. And we're also able to see exactly what's going on. We can see all their old ROs and their jobs. We can click on their name and it brings us to their profile in the shop management system that you use. We can bring up their ROs directly. So we're not going back and forth and searching and doing, that whole song and dance. So we also have a Ring Central integration currently, and we are working on some other VoIP integrations right now. So the way that works is that makes this piece even more valuable. Customer calls in and it prompts a notification down in the bottom right-hand corner. And when you click that, it brings up the customer's information. And there we can see exactly who we're talking to. We have different icons set up in the background. Yellow is, we feel we're still establishing that relationship. 4 visits to the shop. And, we don't feel that we really have enough data on that customer to make a kind of a go, no-go call on that customer and what that relationship is going to look like. So if they're calling about a particular vehicle, like I said, we can bring up all the vehicle information. You can see all the ROs down here. You can see if they've had a declined work. You can look at only the declined work. Where this is really important is when that customer is calling in. So we've established that we have a customer that we are still building that relationship with. But you can see that we've also recommended some maintenance items on their last visit. So, we're kind of getting to that point with this customer that it's time to, what do we need to do to get them to do those services? Is it a scheduling thing? We're able to present that on the phone right then. Hey, Mr. Jones, you were in here last time for your oil change, and I see that you typically wait, but we need to go ahead and get these other maintenance items done. Let's go ahead and schedule you for a drop appointment and put you in that loaner car, and then we can go ahead and get you caught up on all your maintenance. If we're presenting it like that, now we've made it so their schedule is done correctly. Even if somebody is a waiter appointment, when you bring them in and you present to them 2 or 3 hours worth of work, that is not a situation you want to be in. You're able to, even if you have the loaner cars, that may not be convenient for their day to take your loaner car and bring it back that night. But if we can do that on the phone before we book that appointment, we're able to knock all that out in a much more efficient manner. So that's basically the 2 core softwares that we have right now. Right now, we have open integrations with TechMetric and Shopware with full connectivity on that. And that is, we can dial into their software on the back end. We also have the Ring Central integration for the Service Advisor Assistant. We are working on Protractor right now. And then we are working on other VoIP solutions. We're looking at 3CX and Nextiva are the 2 that are kind of on the chopping block. But with that said, if you use another software, I need to know what software you're using or what VoIP communication service you're using, because we're building this out. So if we have 10 people that have a software that we don't have access to right now, we want to explore what that's going to take. So just because we don't integrate with what you currently have, that doesn't mean we shouldn't talk. If we want to get on and you want to get access to this, the faster that we can talk and find out what you have, the faster that we can build that communication out with your software. So you're probably asking yourself, should I take the next steps? And, really, why should you take the next steps? And I think the goal for every shop owner at one point is to kind of have mastery over your shop. And this is a tool that, enables you to do that without giving you this huge time constraint, and strapping you to the desk for 20 hours a day. My biggest thing, I have a 6 and a 9-year-old. I want to spend time with my kids. I don't want to be doing reports. And I don't want my manager to be doing those reports. I want him to be worrying about the things that matter on the day-to-day things, but I can't just delegate it to him, and because then somewhere it's going to suffer along the lines. It's going to help you comprehend the figures. And I think the biggest thing is as you're transitioning through your shop ownership, is it brings accountability to your team. If your technicians can see that technician report, I have a couple shops that are putting this up on TVs in their shops so their technicians can see it. It gamifies the the shop experience right now. Doesn't matter how you pay your technicians or whatever that case is. No technician wants to be the slowest guy in the shop. So it kind of creates that competition, and really brings a, light to where the issues are. And it really brings that teamwork aspect back because everyone knows what the greater goal is. And if you're in that transition period, it helps you detach from the shop easier. Now you can give this to your team. They're able to, know what the limits are for you as an owner. Don't bother me if we're doing, $250 a month. Only let me know if we're doing $200 a month or whatever the billable hours are, or whatever those requirements are for you as an owner. And you can just go about your way. And then, no harm for no foul. Me personally, I'm leaving on Friday for the whole summer. And, they won't call me unless there's a problem. We have those parameters in place. And, they know exactly, all right, when we get here, this is what the action plan is. If we're doing better, we need to add an employee. But if we start doing worse, we also need to maybe eliminate an employee. So those are all things that this enables your employees to kind of have that transparency on and be able to make those decisions and make you alert when they need to. And ultimately, you want to be the guru of your own shop. I talk to shop owners all the time, and they run great shops, but they still don't understand what makes the numbers move at the shop. So right now we're running a special for the two softwares. It's $150 a month, and you get both softwares. And we will be splitting the Service Advisor Assistant off at one point, and but you will be locked into this price forever. Won't ever go up. The Service Advisor Assistant, like I said, in the very near future is going to be its own product. And when we do that, you will still get both products at the $150 a month. If you're a multi-shop location, it's $150 for the initial shop, and then it's $125 for each additional location. And then we can kind of go from there on that. And then so what's included? Like I said, you get both pieces of software. You get 5 user logins per account. So if you have multiple locations, it's 5 users per location. You'll get 1 follow-up training call with either myself or another shop owner that's been helping me with this, and we'll go over your shop's data with you and kind of give you an action plan of maybe 2 or 3 things that you can work on. Then you can use that information and go to the training library, and you can use that to kind of develop that process to figure out what those solutions for those problems. We have full software tech support. All of my development team is based here in the Southeast. Super great guys. If we run across an issue, we usually have it fixed within a few hours. So that's been really great working with local U.S. based people. And then this is definitely user driven for suggestions. If you're sitting here and I get a little bit more of this from the multi-shop guys. Oh, we want to see this, we want to see that. We can build custom dashboards out for your shop. I love doing it. I love seeing what other shop owners are telling me and what they want to see. We've incorporated a little bit of that, into these dashboards. And, that's really one of those things that I enjoy is seeing how other people want to leverage this technology for their shops. And the cost on that stuff is pretty minimal. If that's something that you'd be interested in, then, as far as the custom dashboards and all that, we could definitely talk about that off camera. And if you'd like to move forward, here's how to contact me. The easiest way to get going is to go directly to our website, and we have a Get Started button on there. Click that button and fill the form out, and let's talk about how we can be the solution for your shop. I'm telling you that you will not regret this. Like I said, these are the tools that I use to grow my shop, and continue to grow my shop. And, this stuff is invaluable as a shop owner. Like I said, it cuts the time out is the biggest thing, but then also the information that it gives you to make those decisions. Questions?
Yeah, so we're going to open this up to questions on it. Sam, I mean, you didn't see me off camera, but I'm just nodding my head on some of this stuff because I've messed around with the software a good bit on it, and going down through there, I'm just like blown away by some of the other stuff that it can do, and what the uses are, right? And I think that the most important thing here is there's so many shops where they get to a point where they're like, hey, the easy stuff is fixed, right? And I always tell this, like, hey, the first 90%, there's a lot of it. You're not using a parts matrix, right? You're not doing, kind of the easy stuff. All right, but I am doing all of that, right? How do I take it to the next level? And a lot of people don't realize that there's not 10 points to gain here. There's not 15 points to gain. This is in the details, right? This is in the crumbs. And how do you analyze this stuff easily, right? There's no way to do it without these numbers. And the whole reason why I wanted to have Sam on here for you guys is like, this is the definition of working smarter, not harder. Right. And this is also like what Sam was talking about before, the relationship side of this. It's not a CRM, right? Customer relationship management, but it's, something that assists you guys. It's if you have a smaller shop, that customer when they call up. You know what they like to do. You know if they're a jerk or if they're not a jerk on it. But as you scale and as you try to move back, is a brand new service advisor going to know that? Right. And it only takes, like Sam was talking about, you guys have all had that situation where you had that one customer where it's if you answered the phone, you would have treated that person a lot differently. But other people don't know that, right? They don't know, hey, that guy just spent 30 grand with us in the last month. So if he wants an oil change, tell him whatever works for him, bring it in there. I had a couple questions for you, but I wanted to kind of highlight a couple things which I thought was super, super cool. Is um, the big thing here is numbers don't lie, right? But numbers can only tell part of the story on it. Some of those stuff that you can see on there, the technician productivity, the other service advisor analysis, these shop management softwares can do that on a very macro level, right? 10,000-foot view of it. But what happens if you have an outlier? What happens if you have a number that doesn't make sense? Actually digging into that is really important, right? Just close ratio. Hey, are you having a difficulty with close ratio? All right, but let me see what it is. Is it the maintenance work? Is it the small ticket items? Is it the big ticket items? That is huge. Also, looking at this, on the unique metrics, right? I have a lot of shops that measure something unique that a lot of other people don't. And when you kind of, had the one metric where you're talking about oil change upsells on that, that is your big focus for the business. And everyone's going to have something unique of what they do. Right. And one of my clients, he has a pretty cool metric that he looks at that he calls it strikeouts or drop offs. Right. And that's a number that he's realized is very, very important. What happens when a customer comes in? We do everything right. We do a DVI, we present it, and that person leaves with absolutely nothing. Right. He has a percentage that he wants to see, and he also specifically wants to see who's in it. Now, the difference between what he was doing before and what he can do with this software is his spreadsheet would tell them what percentage of the time that happened. It was not easy for him to look into that percentage and look at those individual customers and figure out exactly why. Whereas on this one, it's going to show you, hey, what the percentage is and also what happened in those ones. And then the cool thing that I liked on this too is your customer ranking system, right? Everyone does this whether they know this or not. And if you have a consumer that, is listening to this at some point, if you see your repair order printed out and there's three asterisks in front of it, it probably means that you are a very good customer or a very bad one, depending on how you guys do your subliminal, right? I have a lot of guys that have started this ranking system, but it is very important, right? And not to say that all customers are not very important to us, but let's be realistic. Are you going to be a little bit more amicable to someone that has spent 100 grand with you in the last year, or someone that spent 1,000? Right? It's just natural that you're going to treat people differently. And then one big plug here on this is when I was talking to Sam about this, I was talking to my client. Sam is the most humble person and was like, still building this thing. The level of detail that you have in here and how robust the system is blown me away. But you can tell this was built by someone that understands shop, right? This is not a beta software that you're like, oh, I'm going to create this. I think people might like this. Sam's used this in his shop to help himself, but there are so many common issues that are shared with all shops that obviously that's going to be useful. But for my shops that have used this, they all come for that reporting. They all come for that dashboard. But the biggest thing that has blown them away is the service advisor side of things. They're like, that is an unintended benefit that I had no idea that I was even missing. And they're like, honestly, for the day to day, everyone else in my shop loves that side of it more. Now, the reports are great, but that service advisor assistant has been huge for them. And
Yeah.
also, like you said, for marketing, right? Marketing, that is a really cool idea that I didn't even think about. And again, this is stuff that you probably have opinions in the back of your head. Hey, what are our good, where do we make the most money? What marquees are most successful for us? This doesn't lie. And how cool is it that you could go back to your marketing company and say, you know what? For whatever reason, 2012 to 2018 Jeep Wranglers are a gold mine. I would like you to target every single owner of that vehicle in an area, because marketing is a numbers game, right? This is all a numbers game. If you want to get five customers in there, you know that you would have to send 1,000 mailers. 5% are going to open them. And then of that, 10% are actually going to do something. But instead of sending it to guys with Audis where we know we get killed on, sending it to Jaguar owners, which we know we get killed on, no, we don't want that. Let's go to our customers, because again, if you're just starting out, you're trying to ramp it up. Hey, everyone's a customer for us. But let's be realistic. Once you get to a certain life, stage of your business, you realize, hey, there is a certain kind of customer we want to deal with. And more specifically, probably certain kinds of vehicles we want to deal with as well, too. So yeah, Sam. I mean, I think we already got one question on here. If you guys have any questions, feel free to pop them in there and we'll ask Sam. Don't want to keep you too long, Sam. You got a busy day. So we'll get a couple of these out there. So first question is there any contract for this?
No, no contract. It's month to month. um, so I don't believe in that. I think the product speaks for itself.
If you like it, use it. If you don't, you are not obligated.
Yep.
And then another question from Alex: is there a discount to switch to voice over IP you work with?
So I don't have any contracts with any VoIP providers at the moment. Right now, I chose. You got to remember, this was built for my shop, so I used. Originally, we just connected with TechMetric because I use TechMetric. We
Gotcha.
use Ring Central because I use Ring Central. So that's kind of the path of why but we're getting requests from other people, other shop owners that, and I'm just trying to compile that list. So that's why I do want to talk to everyone, because the VoIP integrations aren't that much of a heavy lifting to connect to as the shop management systems. We just have to make sure that they have some key things in place so we're able to use that data efficiently.
Awesome. And then I'm guessing probably for something like that situation too, Sam, if someone said, hey, I'm using X, Y, and Z, what you guys are using Ring Central on it, what is the difference? Mine does that. Does yours do that? And could probably give them, some sort of kind of feedback on, hey, it sounds like yours is actually not even as good as Ring Central. It's probably easier for you to just switch over Ring Central. It's going to do everything the same and some with a similar price. Or, hey, if you love that and you're committed to that, and we have 15 people on it, yeah, we're going to work on that. Or, man, that is an obscure one. I'll be honest with you. This is
Yeah.
going to be a one-off thing. I can't see it, but yeah, awesome. Tracy gave me a shout out. Nice beard, Hunt. Thank you. I'm trying to not look 12 years old, so glad you can even see it at that angle. Hopefully, you don't see the Sharpie colored in there. Alex, I'm going to give you some money here for being our best question answer. Any timeline for Nextiva? Maybe Alex does have Nextiva here.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're working right now. We're just getting through with the shopware integration. I've got a couple shops that are on Nextiva currently. Really our marker is not, it's 10 locations, and then we can justify the build out for the next VoIP system. So that's, it's not like I need to get 1 million people with Nextiva. It's pretty minimal, and that's locations, not actual shops. So if we get a couple multi shops on there, I've got the other one that I've got interest in is 3CX, a couple multi shop guys in that. So it doesn't take but 1 or 2 multi shops, 3 multi shops, and then we've already got the number, and then I can justify it.
Yeah, and what I always kind of tell people on some of these softwares, right? And this is something as easy from QuickBooks to some of these bigger ones, is what you're going to find out is there is boutique software out there, right? There's boutique things that you can do for your business. And what I always tell people is, are the benefits going to outweigh the downside, right? You could go out there and you could get one of these kind of, lesser used accounting software. TechMetric's never going to integrate with that, right? Sam Software's never going to integrate that. And so I think the big thing that I always push people is, all right, are you having something that's better or different? Because yeah, maybe Sam is willing to make this work for you, but there's other stuff that you can add on too. And it might make sense to take a look at it. It's something as what I'll call as much of a commodity as voice over IP, right? I want to be able to pick up the phone. I want to be able to call people, right? Let's not overthink this. And if you're going to have one of these big guys out there that's common, probably will save you time in the long run. So,
Yeah,
can I ask some of my questions now, Sam? And this
absolutely.
is just for my own thing, but one of the big ones I had on here is, so when you're talking about some of these metrics on there, right? Obviously, the reports are only as good as the information that go into it. So, did you find that this has changed what you guys or how you guys were putting information into Tech Metric, whether it's a service advisor or a technician?
Yeah. So the biggest thing that we've had to make as far as process changes is on the job tracking, because the way that TechMetric works is, so if you have a can job and say it's a brake fluid system service, and your advisor, your technician goes in there and they put the findings in that, the softwares create a new job completely. So there was a little bit of process change on there. I've got a shop owner that didn't want to change any of the his processes at his shop, so he just has to manually go in there and remap all the jobs every month. So you can do that, but that's not very efficient. That kind of defeats the point of the software. There's other places for the technicians to put their findings and stuff in there. If you look at, I had a Euro shop. They had 2,500 different oil changes in their shop because they're putting all their notes in the title. So we've kind of analyzed this front to back on different ways to do this, doing keyword searches and all that. And it's a lot of it is just not feasible. Especially when you start to scale it.
Yeah, and that's what I was looking at for some of those things of like, the really cool one that I saw was, throughput, right? Which is, like you said before, I mean, you hit the nail on the head on productivity. Is when I talk productivity, everyone thinks technicians smoking cigarettes back behind a dumpster, right?
Yeah.
Twiddling their thumbs. In actuality, 90% of the time, it is something outside of that, right? Hey, they're working on it, but they're not efficient, or
Yeah.
you're not giving them enough hours, or you're not dispatching this stuff correctly. But just like I was looking at that kind of, days in the shop time or days completed, a lot of people do that differently, right? Hey, I do not complete a job till that customer pays, because they don't want to book it until the customer pays. And so that's what I was thinking. I was like, all right, for some of, I mean, some of you might already work the way that Sam worked, because let's be real, he created this on how he does stuff, but I was thinking that there probably is a little bit of procedural change to make the software even more useful for their shops too.
Yeah. The thing is I think the big thing is, regardless of what it is, there has to be consistency. So if you do have an operational thing that's different, 7 days might not be 7 days in the shop, but as long as you can use the same process and compare it to the previous time period of whatever you're looking at, that's what really matters. And I think that, like with the approved versus completed hours, that is, so that is one of the few things that is actually real time. So when the advisor clicks approved, or when they're in shopware and they convert it from a recommendation over to an estimate, then that is when that gets flagged. We're not waiting for the RO to close 2 weeks later. So that is super important, because what we did in our shop is we went to all of our technicians and we said, okay, what's your goal? Not 8 hours a day, but is it 11 or 12 hours a day? So that's really the nut that my advisors need to meet every day. And at my shop, it's 60 hours per day, so 300 a week. So we look at it on a weekly level. We missed it or we made it. And it's not just about having 100% efficiency on the 8 hours a day. It's being able to provide the technicians the ability to reach their personal goals as far as what their productivity is too.
Yeah, and that was a big thing that I looked at too, and you talked about this is, a lot of guys think, and if we really want to cause a firestorm here, we'll talk about flat rate versus hourly, and people can yell at you, Sam, that you can never run a shop if you don't do full flat rate or the opposite, right? But naturally, guys do not want to disappoint their boss, right? You write their paychecks on it. So it doesn't matter if it's high or low. They don't want to disappoint anyone. Also, naturally, most people are competitive on this. And for a lot of times, especially for an hourly shop, because if you're flat rate, that more or less manages itself. Hey, you don't do much, you're going to know because that paycheck's going to be a little bit light and vice versa. But for the hourly, a lot of people don't realize is they're not looking at the numbers the same as you are as an owner, right? And a lot of these technicians aren't even looking at their hours whatsoever. Hey, I'm going to do whatever boss sends over to me and I want to make them happy. Now, just putting this information out there and just talking about this and, kind of making the guys aware of this, did you notice a change? Obviously, I saw some of the changes, right there on the service advisor level. But
Yep.
did you notice a change on the technician side of things, just once they were made aware of where they stand and what the other guys were doing?
Yeah. So what happened was is so we've used a version of this, so to speak, for a little more than 18 months. And end of last year, we sat down with all of our technicians and we said, okay, as a technician, where do you feel that you could be productivity wise? I had guys telling me 14, 15 hours. I was like, I don't know if we could do that, but if you feel that you can do
let's
that,
let's
then
let's
we're going
crank
to,
it down a little bit. I'm
right.
saying for the long run. I can know you can do that for a couple weeks here,
Yeah.
but
So we're going to put the effort in to find out. So what we did is, and it kind of goes back to most of the inefficiencies are in the shop processes. It's not on the technician, and we did what we measured expense time in the shop, and we're actually doing that exercise right now at our shop as we speak. And we feel that it's something that we need to do about every quarter, probably. But we're going in and we're looking at where are the non-billable hours in my shop coming from. If that technician is there for 8 hours and you're doing whatever you're doing with your labor matrix or however you're quoting your jobs, and the big thing that we noticed is right now that's killing us are AC leak rechecks. You don't realize, and we do the hydrogen detection with the AC, and we're still not finding it on that first visit. But our AC rechecks are averaging anywhere from 25 to 45 minutes, depending on the vehicle. So now we're considering, do we need to just go up on our AC recharge price? Because not only do we have the initial service, but now we've identified this whole other issue that we're having, and we're in South Carolina. AC is the name of the game. I've got
it's
four
not
AC
it's not
machines that are
optional.
nonstop, right?
Yeah.
So that's where those are the things that really, the dashboard told us at the beginning of the year, my top guys were 13 hours, and we maintained that for January, February, most of March. And then we started to notice a drop off. So we started talking about doing the expense time again. And like I said, we did it last week as kind of we're using a different software to monitor it because we were using printed out spreadsheets. And so now we've found a software that runs a clock all day. And now we're able to, but we identified that like the first day, we were like, oh my God, we did 5 AC rechecks and it constituted 2.5 hours of non-billable time. So
Yeah. And that's huge, right? Because it's something that you could have guessed on. Some of the guys, if it's big enough, probably would have picked up on it, but there's no way to quantify it, right? It would have
right.
just been feelings and opinions. But yeah, I mean, like you said before, if getting more cars through the door is, the dark art, right? You can do the best advertising. You are still relying on someone else deciding to come in. Or like you said, if you're going to do repair, you're completely at the mercy of that vehicle breaking on it.
Yep.
But the name of the game here is ARO and trying to sell more work. But why would we even move there when there's so many things that's like, well, let's get paid stuff that we're already doing, right?
Yep.
And the basic is diagnostic, right? Of, so many people or everyone now is charging for diagnostic work because at some point someone looked at this and said, hey, this is where our non-billable time is going, right? Look at, especially if you're a diagnostic technician, how did that guy only bill out 12 hours? He was full blown. We need to
Yeah.
get paid for that. Just like you said of, hey, we sold this AC service on this, and it's $145, but 90% of these we're having to do a recheck because we can't find these leaks. So, hey, unfortunately, we need to make sure that this works for everyone. So now we're going to charge 225. The ones that we don't need a recheck on, hey, we're going to do well on. The ones that we do have to recheck on, we're not crying and being like, please find it quickly, because we're now losing on something that we thought was profitable on the front end of that.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the biggest thing is this really helps you identify where the issue is. And in the knowledge center, there's videos that cover all of that, and the first thing is the shocking thing that I see with shops is they don't even know what their capacity of their shop is. You are able to, I provided calculators and stuff in there. I can tell you exactly with your shop when you need to add an employee, when you need to fire an employee. Everyone's worried about what's going to happen over the next 6 months. We don't need to employ everyone forever. That's not the goal. The goal is to protect the nest egg, which is the shop, and protect the team. And, if business starts declining, you've got to know now, if we meet this hour threshold, like our shop, when we dip below 1,000 hours for the month, I know I have to let a technician go. That will start hurting my bottom line. I can only afford to have that extra technician on for a certain amount of time. So I know that now because of the dashboard. Before it was just kind of a shot in the dark. Well, we think we're here, we think we're there, or so it just makes those decisions a lot more clear.
Exactly. Or even as simple as scaling, right? Of like, hey, we need to take it to the next level. I need another guy. And you look at
Yep.
this, it's like, we're only selling 50% of the hours we're in the building. Well, we don't need another guy. We could probably drop a guy and still meet those goals. And also, how many times have you seen people where they kind of find out what their theoretical max is by actually achieving it? Oh, we can't do any more than 150 grand. You did 200 grand last month. So how did that happen?
Yep.
Because their idea or their feeling of what their max was just that, right? Not based in reality. So
Yeah.
awesome. As you guys can see, this is the kind of stuff that I love. And yeah, I mean, I can't vouch for it enough, Sam. I mean, what you created is pretty incredible here. Last thing on here, I want to make sure we shared the link on here, and talked with Sam before. Best way to get in contact with you is to go onto your website, right? And then they can fill
Yep.
out this get started page here.
That's correct. And then I'll reach out with a phone call, and we can discuss, and if we want to do a full demo, I'd be more than happy to do that. We also do free trials. Give us a credit card and we'll give you a 14-day free trial if you want to do that. And then you can actually experience the software with your data. So like I said, even if we don't integrate with something that you do, fill out the form. We have that information there. I want to know what that is so we can kind of prepare our roadmap for the future.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not going to give away any of your secrets here, Sam, but Sam and I were talking before. Right now, obviously, the two major ones that he works with is Shopware and TechMetric, working on Protractor. There is a couple more there behind the scenes, but just like Sam said, if you have it, right, if you're a Trax user or whatever on it, even if they're not signed up, Sam's getting a bunch of insight of, hey, I'm on Trax, and when you're ready, I'll be signing up. If he doesn't know about that, it's not going to get pushed to the front of the line. So
Right.
yeah, reach out, take a look at this stuff, open your eyes to what it can do, and should be really cool. So just want
Yeah.
to say thank you again. Appreciate you coming on here. I think this was super, super informative. If nothing else, I enjoyed it. So
Yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate all the, the comments, and, and I really hope that everyone sees the true value of this to kind of take their ownership to the next level.
of course, awesome. Well, appreciate it. Thanks
All
for
right.
joining me, everyone. And we will talk to you guys a little bit later.
Thanks.